Hey everybody, my name is Alexander Dorman, and this is my little presentation on what I've been working on the past year and a half or so. And it's with the betta fish, also known as the Siamese fighting fish. I was a biology major at Salisbury University, um, and I dropped out a couple years ago, but I still took with me a lot of concepts from biology, um, and this is kind of within that major still, even though I'm actually taking online classes, doing something else. But this has been kind of a cool thing I've been doing, and I've brought up some betta fish. So let's get right into it. Here is I named him Adam. His it's a male. This is a male betta fish. The males are kind of like peacocks in that they have like ornamental features about them with their fins and their gill slits. Um, and this was Adam, who I bought from a store for probably $5 or $6. They're awesome pets. You can buy them from just about any pet store. And they're great fish to have. They they live by themselves. You just need one, and they're very clean. You really don't have to clean their water very much. I've noticed that their water hardly ever gets dirty. Um, and in fact, they thrive in murky-ish water. Actually, they're from like the Thailand region, found in small little swimming pools near rice paddies. And they're a fish that's able to come up and breathe water, or I mean, excuse me, air. They can come up to the top. I have a video I'll show you a little bit later where they come up and they suck in air from the surface, which goes through this organ called a labyrinth inside of the fish, and it is able to get its oxygen through the air, which most fish cannot do. Let's see. So I started with Adam, and he met a girl, and they were able to lay some eggs, and these were the little baby betta fish that came out of the bubbles. It's a very cool process. Maybe I jumped to this slide a little bit too quick, but these were the little baby bettas on their first days alive. I can go through the process of the mating and everything in a little bit later. But just to show you the pictures I have, all the pictures in this presentation are mine, and I found it very difficult to take pictures. It almost seemed like the adult bettas knew when I was trying to take pictures of them, and some of them liked the camera, and some were a little camera shy. But you'll see as my pictures go. Some are good, some not so good. But anyways, very cool fish. Um, and so here was Adam, and next to him is actually Eve. That's actually a red fish curled around them. They're in coitus right there. Um, Above them, you see the bubble nest that the male will actually make. He will somehow sucks in air, and then he keeps spitting out all these bubbles on the surface of the water, and that becomes this nest from when after they finish mating, fertilized eggs will drop from the female after this, and the male will go and either scoop them up with his fins or put them in his mouth and then come up and spit them into the bubbles where the eggs will be inside the bubbles where they eventually emerge out with these little tails and almost these little two black beady eyes. Look, like sperm, very small single cell organism almost with a flagella kind of creature. But anyways, I bought them from a pet store, and here's a picture of Eve when I first bought her. You can tell she was not doing very well. That was losing a lot of her color. That's actually her in her original container uh, back, a little more than a year ago. And there's Adam. He's kind of hiding in the bushes there. He's a male crown tail. There's a couple different types of betta fish based on their characteristics. But Adam, as I named him, was a crown tail, and Eve over there was a veil tail. Um, so, I've been keeping records of all the fish since in the last year and a half. This started back in August of 22nd. You can see some star dates up here at the top. Those are just times where I've entered data where a fish had either died or what have you, but I've made 2 entries since then. Last one was last month. Um, Sadly, I am about to do another update on here because uh, a third female is not looking very good. Um, Today she was acting, her behavior was a little bit weird, and she might be nearing death soon. But you can see they live, just about a year. Their life cycle is about a year long. Um, the male, Adam was, pretty much a year old. Um, and as you can see, I've actually added 2 males into my collection. My that I'm currently actually trying to introduce to those little babies that have now grown up. I'm kind of skipping ahead of myself, but Adam and Eve, really became healthy after the store. You have to make sure you really only need a heater for their water because they like the water temperature warm. Um, in a select range. I think it's like 76 degrees to 82 degrees. Keep a little thermometer. It's very cheap aquarium at any pet store. But they're tropical, technically tropical fish, so they just need to be in warmer water. But there they are, and you saw them right there in coitus. They're very cool. The mating behavior is very amazing, really, how they will try to attract the female, and they will be chasing each other back and forth. There's lots of different aspects to that should be investigated, including mate selection, where there's more than one male that a female could pick from, or is it more important that a male see 2 females for his choice? They're different creatures because normally there's a high energy investment for a female because they, give birth and, um, ha- are feeding, have a second life form inside of them that they have to, compensate for. But in betas, they actually are the ones making the nest, keeping track of the eggs as they sometimes fall out of their bubble. He will scoop them back up and put them back up in a nice little bubble. And the female doesn't really have much to do with the fry upbringing. The baby betta fish are actually called fry. So those little pictures of those babies that was fry. They were baby fry. Very cool. And as you can see, this is just a picture, four pictures of bubble nests that the males create. Over here, this is introduce you to Peach, another male. He was I'd have to look at my notes again to see exactly what his common name was, but he is meeting one of those right there is actually a grown-up fry right there, because I want to take you through, like, I did my best taking pictures of them, but there they were as fry. And then, a month later, they grew to look like this, taking the best pictures I can. They didn't really have their color yet, but yeah, clear eyes, clear tail, very, lots of scientific study at this point could be done, how how much their DNA has changed, or which genes, more like which genes are being activated at which times, because eventually they took on color. A couple of them took on color. This blue, they looked like their dads, and these were our females right here. Based on, sometimes you can see their little egg ovipositor kind of underneath the fish, a little white spot, which indicates their eggs. Um, but you can see they really took on their dad's color. There was one that was kind of more reddish, like Eve, the mother. Um, but you saw all the fry, and at some point in the experiment, you have to call them, cull, call the fish, because if you just let them all, in their, I had them in a 10-gallon tank, a very, pretty big tank, but even with the 20 plus baby fry in there, not all of them we're going to make it. And as you can see, the aquarium tank gets very, very dirty with the different type of food that you have to feed the baby fry, because they aren't big enough to eat normal adult betta fish food. Um, but as you can see, there were four sisters that called them, that pretty much made it to maturity. This is them at 76 days old. Um, I don't know if at this time I should have started introducing them to a male, to begin another breeding mating process, so I could continue a line of betta fish that could be traced through probably maternal mitochondrial DNA, if the females seem to be, or if I can continue to have another female. If one of these sisters could mate with one of the new males that I've added to the collection. But this is just pictures of them growing up. It was very cool to see them grow up. As I said, sometimes they took to the cameras, sometimes they didn't. They had very cool stripe patterns. Um, them just hanging out in their aquarium. I used 10-gallon tank. I have two 10-gallon tanks, and then two smaller tanks that I will use as like a hospital tank. But all my experiments and all my breeding is done very ethically sound. I've read a couple scientific papers where they talk about dissecting the fish that they have to RNA sequence their brains, to determine levels of chemicals, that they attribute to, the genome of the betta fish. Um, I'm kind of against any kind of study like that. In fact, as my title of this uh, presentation is, it's the life cycle. They live and they die, and so, I eventually, look at how grown they got. I mean, they were just this, and that was the one that was a little bit red. But like I said, my slides are a little bit out of order. Not in terms of how they grow and old, but some of my topic right now I'm talking about is missing it. But I really liked the four sisters. They were very cool. And like I said, eventually Adam um, started to age, and you could tell because he started losing his color back in his tail. He started turning, just old color, white, just clear, losing his color. Um, and like I could go back into the records of exactly when he died, but he lived to be about a year, and he went through this just aging process that the other fish I've seen, like I said, as I showed you here, Adam died about 242 days in. Note of where there was another male that I had, Steve, which happened to be the same color, but Eve, the original female, didn't really take to Steve, so Steve didn't make it. Um, but these are the current line. There's two sisters, and like I said, there's one mate, and I might have waited too long to have them mate, and in which case I would start the whole experiment again and start with new male and females to, create a genomic line that could be traced. Um, but Adams, I let him go back in the tank with the sisters every once in a while, his daughters. He got to meet his daughters, and the fish are very smart. They really do have a memory of other fish that they come into contact to. I believe that Adam recognized his daughters and behaved as such, um, just as if two males meet one another. Since they are fighting fish, they do clash, and it is very violent. They do a very uh, they pose with their gill slits wide open, and I've been trying to get a really good picture of that, but it's been difficult. It's difficult to get that snapshot. I'm still, hopefully next presentation I'll have a nice picture of that. But they definitely look fearsome once they have their fins spread out and aggressive, and they definitely bite the other ones. There's usually, it doesn't, the battles usually don't go till one dies, but there's usually definitely a submissive and a dominant male that happens. There's lots of studies on allowing other males, in like a separate part of that tank to witness, to audience the fight. And when that fish is also allowed to interact with those fish, it remembers who won that last battle, who was the dominant. Um, and they're very interesting creatures. Very almost sometimes I think they're dog-like. But I really truly loved my pictures of the baby fish as they grew up. I got to see them get all the way up, and I'm just trying to right now get them to meet with their respective boyfriends, or mating choices that could hopefully get them to reproduce and have more fish. But I'm having some difficulty right now. I'm trying a couple different things. I'm still taking good notes, and but that's what I'm stuck on a little bit right now. I'm doing a little bit further research into other ideas of getting, pushing them to be able to mate. But I also might have missed I might have waited till the sisters were too old. But please, this my main goal here is to put it out there to help support my research of betta fish. Um, all comments are welcome. I still think they're great, just pets for anybody. Um, they're, like I said, really smart creatures and have some cool or specific things about them. Like they can breathe air that just makes them a little bit different than the others. Um, I wanted to show you, I think, one little video of, this is one of the new males that's meeting one of the sisters right here, and just how they behave. He's kind of showing off right now, really showing how he's the best one. I know it's very short. Sometimes I'll stream some videos on my Twitch, lot longer videos of them just how they interact with each other. Um, but that's basically my whole presentation. Thanks for sticking around and watching. If you can, go to my GoFundMe page. You might be able to take a picture of that QR code right there, or you can, go find me and GoFundMe with the number 2178B046, and I'm just trying to, finance my research into these fish that may hopefully um, find some important discoveries, or further pursue education and knowledge on a very very cool betta Siamese fighting fish. So thanks everybody. I hope everybody has a good